Hello everyone, welcome to this new tutorial dedicated to the operating system macOS 10. In this session, I want to talk about a really important thing, that is to say, the OS 10 Time Machine. The Time Machine is essentially a backup system built into the operating system OS 10 itself. This means you don't have to buy it or download it from somewhere else. It's already on your Mac. From Snow Leopard up to Mavericks, every version of OS X has its own time machine built in. Basically, Time Machine is an ingenious system that doesn't just make a simple backup of all your data, photos, documents, music, movies, and so on, but in practice create an upgradable clone of your entire computer, programs and applications included. This means that Time Machine not only can recover files that users might have accidentally deleted, but it can also bring back your Mac to a specific date in the past if you ever need it. For example, if I make a destructive change to my system, or there is any other case of instability, I can retrieve a backup from the past in which that particular problem did not exist yet, and bring back my Mac to that specific date by simply clicking on a button. But I will explain everything along the way. Now, try to launch Time Machine. To find it, I've got its icon here on the dock, but if you want to look for it into your Mac, there are a couple of ways to do it. First of all, you can access the Apple menu, then go into System Preferences, and then you see that within its panel there is the icon of Time Machine, this one. Second of all, you can open your Launchpad and you will find a folder named Others. Open it and inside you will find your Time Machine icon. So, I have to search for the folder Other, this one, open it, and then inside the folder I will find the icon of Time Machine. Now, if we open the Time Machine, this is the first thing that we see, its main screen. It's currently off, as you can see. Before you turn it on, I would like to explain a couple of other things about it. As you can see, I have a Time Machine icon into the menu bar too, this one. If you don't see it, just check this option here, Show Time Machine in menu bar. As you can see, if I uncheck it, the icon disappears from the menu bar. So let's leave it in the menu bar. Okay. If I activate the Time Machine, you see that a certain time for the next expected backup automatically appears. In this case, today, 3 minutes before 9 p.m. This is because I have already activated the program in the past. I've done some backups and I have already set a volume to be used for these backups. However, if you open it for the first time, you will automatically get a window that will ask you which disk you want to use for your backups. The very same window appears when I click here on Select Disk. So, when you activate Time Machine for the first time, you will be in front of this window asking you which disk you want to use for your backup. In my case, the first is the default. It's called Mac Mini Backup. But you can see that the system also lists a whole series of other hard drives that are currently connected to my Mac and that could possibly be used for Time Machine. As you can see, there are several of them. But of course I want to keep this one, which is the default one. If you don't have one, you just select one and it will be automatically erased and prepared for Time Machine. So the other button you need to know about is called Options. If you click on it, you will get a window asking you what you want to exclude from your backup. Example, by default, Time Machine makes a backup of your system as a whole. If there is something that maybe you don't want to be included into the backup, you just have to click on the plus and then select it manually. For example, I have excluded all my external hard drives because I don't want them to be included in every single backup. They are too large and they are already a backup. For example, I could decide to exclude the folder downloads from my backups. If I select it, you see that the folder downloads suddenly appears in the ban list. Then just click on save here. So if you come back into the window, you see that the download folder is still there. Obviously, if you decide to restart making backups of your downloads folder, you just have to click on the minus and the folder will disappear from the ban list, like this. You can see that now it's not here anymore. So practically, the select disk allows you to choose what kind of disk and which one you want to use for your backups. And the option button allows you to exclude a particular folder from these backups. Okay, if you're about to make your first backup with Time Machine, simply click on and the estimated time of backup will immediately be displayed. As you can see, now it's about to begin, 60 seconds. This is because the system is programmed to do regular hourly backups. Then it retains a backup every hour for the last 24 hours, a daily backup for the past month, and a monthly backup for each month back in the past. To start the first backup then, all you have to do is click on the on and wait until the end of the automatic countdown. Alternatively, if you want to start the backup immediately, you just have to go to the drop-down menu that appears at the Time Machine icon into the menu bar and select Backup Now, in this way. Backup Now. And as you can see, the backup already starts. In this case, it's very quick. Keep in mind that the first backup will be quite long, at least a couple of hours up to a maximum of several hours, depending on how much material you have on your hard drive. Clearly, an hard drive filled up to 70% will require much more time than one filled only to 20–30%. Then be aware that the first backup will take several hours, but don't worry, it will not always be like that. In fact, Time Machine creates incremental backups. What does this mean? Basically, this means that Time Machine, during the first backup, has to copy all your hard drive, operating system, programs, application, files, system preference, and so on, everything. That's why it requires all those hours of time. After all, it has to create a clone of your entire computer. But from the second backup onwards, as you have just seen it, Time Machine will only copy those files that have been modified, even if it was just a minimal change. This means that if you haven't touched anything in your computer after the first backup, Time Machine will just verify hour after hour that nothing has changed and that there is no need for any additional backup. By the time you work on a file or add an app or make any other change to your computer, Time Machine will simply make a backup of those single changes by adding them to the previous data, which will remain unchanged. So, for example, I've just done my last backup. If I choose Backup Now, you can see that it's very quick, just a few seconds, because I've changed anything since my last backup. So practically, as you can see, it's almost an instant procedure because Time Machine had only to confirm the previous backup. I didn't change anything since the last one. Then it took only a few seconds. So I was saying that by the time you work on a file or add an app or make any other change to your computer, Time Machine will simply make a backup of those single changes by adding them to the previous data, which will remain unchanged. But in doing so, it will create a new image backup without erasing the older versions of that particular file, that particular application, that particular program. As a consequence of this, if you repent or you decide you have made a mistake, you can just go back in time, backup by backup, to find the file as it was before this unwanted change, so that you will be able to restore it. If I'm going to click on the hard drive icon, you see that this folder has been created, in which there are all the various backups I've done so far. Here it is, Alessandro's Mac Mini, that's my hard drive. Inside this subfolder there are, each in its own folder, several backups identified by date and time, as you can see. So by having a system backup made with Time Machine, you will be able to recover the older version of any particular files and or program in order to correct unwanted changes. Restore your entire computer in case something happens to the internal hard drive. Carry your entire computer into another one if you ever need to. This means that if you buy a second Mac or replace your old Mac with a new one, you can use your last Time Machine backup to bring your hard disk into the new Mac without having to reinstall every single program, every single system preference, and so on. At the end of the procedure, you will have your old hard drive into the new Mac all in once. Now let's take a practical example of this. You see that on my desktop I have some folders here and several icons of my external hard drives which are connected to my Mac right now. In addition to these things, there is just a single file on the desktop. Let's say it's something that you have downloaded and left on the desktop because you had not yet decided where to store it. Now let's do a backup of Time Machine for safety, even if there's no real need to do it. So as we said, we go on the menu of Time Machine and choose Backup Now. It will take a few seconds because there's nothing to backup. Okay. Then imagine that, whatever the reason, you are going to delete this file from your desktop, like this, and then you are going to empty your trash. Only after having done so, however, you remember that that particular file had yet to be stored, and you have already emptied the trash. What should you do? Very simple. Go into your Time Machine and try to recover it. Let's see how. Practically, you have to click on the icon of Time Machine and you will suddenly enter into it. So as you can see, you are positioned into the backups of your desktop, and you can see the trail of all the precedent backups that have been made. Just navigate using the arrows until you find a version of the desktop when your file was still present. For example, it's not present anymore in the first one, but here it is in the second one. Once you find the file, select it, and then it will be sufficient to click on Restore here to get him back in its place. As you can see, if I leave the Time Machine, the file has reappeared on the desktop. It's very easy. So when the backup will be accumulated and the hard disk space will be exhausted, do not worry. Time Machine will warn you that the space is fully occupied and that the new backup will start by deleting the oldest one. But it's normal. if there is space on your hard drive for backups of 6-7 months, at the end of the 7th month, Time Machine will begin to delete the backups of the first month in order to make room for those of the 8th month, and so on. But you will hardly need files older than 6 or 7 months in the past. However, it's clear that the bigger the hard disk chosen for backups is, the greater the period of time for which you can go back in time. So if you are scared of losing older versions of your files, just choose a bigger hard drive to store your backups in. The ideal size of an external hard drive for your backups should be twice the capacity of your internal hard drive. So if your iMac or your Mac has an internal hard drive of if your internal hard drive has a capacity of 500 gigabytes like this, you should maybe think of an external hard drive of 1 terabyte. Anyway, it's up to you completely. I really think Time Machine is one of the most wonderful things of a Mac computer. It has absolutely no equal in any Windows PC, especially because it's accessible to all and so easy to use. Well, this tutorial is finished. I hope I didn't forget anything important. See you next time.